Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is the show where we take a stack of pretty dense sources, strip away all that academic noise, and give you the core insights you need to be, well, instantly well informed.
Right.
Today, we are opening a remarkably ancient collection of wisdom, Proverbs chapter 19, but we're treating it like a specialized user manual,
A guide.
a powerful, practical guide for navigating wealth, friendships, and, the often tricky dynamics of family life.
That's absolutely the right way to look at this material. Our sources today, they're the Berean Standard Bible text of Proverbs 19, but it's all supported by some deep historical, linguistic, and even archaeological commentary.
So it's not just literature.
No, not at all. It's more than that. It's compressed insight. You get sociology, economics, ethics, all wrapped up in those sharp, short couplets that Proverbs is so famous for.
And our mission for you, the learner, is, well, it's simple. We want to extract those core aha moments. We want the surprisingly practical rules for success and contentment that help you cut through the modern world's information overload.
And this chapter sits right within the big collection known as the Proverbs of Solomon. It uses contrast constantly, pitting the righteous path against the foolish path to instruct us in really two key areas.
Sure.
Domestic life, so
Yeah.
everything that happens inside the home, and civic life, which covers the royal court and, very importantly, the bustling marketplace.
And what really sets the tone for everything we're about to discuss is this immediate values hierarchy. It signals right up front that moral character, always, without exception, outranks material gain. We're starting with integrity, folly, and the strict standard we have to maintain in the marketplace.
It's so important to note how this book always starts the conversation by setting up that ethical tension first. It doesn't talk about wealth first, it talks about who you are.
Okay, so let's unpack that tension with the chapter's opening statement. Verse 1. Better a poor man who walks with integrity than a fool whose lips are perverse. The language here for integrity, Tom, is really strong. It means moral completeness or innocence. It is explicitly telling you that honest poverty is fundamentally better than rich dishonesty. That's a countercultural truth, whether you were living in ancient Jerusalem or, a modern city today.
And if you stop and think about the implication, it's really all about social capital. It's about long-term reputation. While a dishonest rich person might have immediate power, their entire world is built on this brittle foundation of deception.
Right.
The person with integrity, even if they're poor, they maintain their moral capital. And that's the one thing money can't buy. It's the one thing that sustains trust.
It also warns against the pursuit of that wealth if it requires recklessness. The text moves right into warning against acting without thought in verse 2. Even zeal is no good without knowledge, and he who hurries his footsteps misses the mark.
This speaks directly to the impatience in our modern success culture. That pressure to get quick riches or to scale up immediately without a solid foundation, either operational or ethical. The proverb says that enthusiasm, that zeal, without knowledge or careful planning, it's actually harmful.
It's not a good thing.
No, it just guarantees you'll miss the target.
And the accountability is brutally clear when you do mess up.
Oh, this is a huge theme. The natural human tendency is to, shift the blame. But verse 3 is just relentless. It insists on personal responsibility. A man's own folly subverts his way, yet his heart rages against the Lord.
So it's your own fault.
Exactly. Your decisions lead to ruin. You tripped over your own feet, but you turn around and blame fate or the government or God. The text just insists that ruin is usually self-inflicted.
And this integrity standard wasn't just some abstract philosophy for the ancient Israelites, was it? It was essential for, day-to-day life.
It was necessary for the entire economy to function. We know from archaeological discoveries in Iron Age Judah, things like storage jars and the little scale weights they used in the market, we know that marketplace standards were often rigorous, but cheating was everywhere.
So people were dishonest.
Yeah. Merchants would shave their weights to give less grain or silver than promised. It was a kind of embedded small-scale corruption.
Like having a manipulated digital scale at the grocery store.
Exactly like that. So when this proverb insists on honesty amid all that bustling trade, it's intensely practical. And the application for you is clear. If getting a certain income level requires you to shave those weights, to compromise your integrity, to mislead clients, to cut corners that harm others, the text says you're better off just walking away.
That character standard is worth more than the check.
Much more.
So, if integrity is the most valuable currency, let's look at how that currency affects the social test, specifically friendships and generosity. This section, it feels, a little cynical at first.
It does. It delivers some very hard observed truths about human loyalty. But it's crucial to see it as a description of reality, not an endorsement of it.
That's a crucial distinction. Verses 4 and 7 offer this sharp, really painful contrast between the rich man's relationships and the poor man's. Wealth attracts many friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friend.
And verse 7 is even more isolating. The poor man is hated even by his own brothers and avoided by his friends, even if he pursues them, pleading.
Wow.
This just highlights the transactional nature of surface-level relationships. Everyone would be a friend of the gift giver, as verse 6 observes. Neediness is the acid test.
The acid test, I like that.
Yeah. When you require help or resources or connection without being able to offer something back, it just exposes the fickle reality of human bonds. And that leads to profound social isolation for the poor.
But the text is just stating a reality here, right? It's not endorsing that cynicism. How do we read this without getting completely jaded about humanity?
And that's where the second half of this section provides the contrast. The proverb places this cynical reality against the immense power of authority. The text inserts this vivid metaphor about a king's power in verse 12.
A king's rage is like the roar of a lion.
But his favor is like dew on the grass.
That image is incredible. You can almost feel the terror and then the relief.
And the historical context just sells it. Assyrian reliefs showed kings as lion hunters, the ultimate symbol of power and terror. His rage is lethal. His favor, however, is life-giving, like the dew that sustains crops in those arid climates. It reminds you that human fate often hinges entirely on the mood of those in authority.
But the proverb doesn't leave us there, just wallowing in the transactional nature of human power. It pivots and offers this revolutionary alternative through generosity.
This is where the text moves beyond cynical observation and into profound instruction. It completely restructures how we view charity. Verse 17 says, "Kindness to the poor is a loan to the Lord, and he will repay the lender."
Wait, structuring charity as a loan to God, that's not just simple philanthropy?
No, it's founded on a specific covenant ethic. It means you are not simply giving away resources or writing a check with no return. You are investing in a transaction where the divine guarantees the repayment.
You're lending to the ultimate authority.
Precisely. This idea is so powerful it's later echoed in the New Testament when we're told to invite those who can't repay us, guaranteeing a reward at the resurrection of the righteous.
So what does all this mean for us today in a practical sense?
It gives you a new filter for evaluating your friendships. Who is still around when your resources run dry? And more importantly, it encourages you to budget generosity, treating gifts to the poor not as lost money, but as an absolutely guaranteed loan that God will personally repay.
That transforms the motivation.
It changes it from obligation into a privileged investment.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. And as we transition, let's move from the public square and the test of friendship into the domestic sphere. The principles of wisdom and folly become intensely personal right at home.
The strength, or the ruin of a nation, the text suggests, it often begins in the household. These relationships are supposed to be non-transactional, but they're often ruined by folly, leading to deep, deep distress.
And that ruin seems to come from two primary sources, according to verse 13. A foolish son is his father's ruin, and a quarrelsome wife is like a constant dripping. That constant dripping line must have been so visceral to ancient readers.
Oh, it's immediately relatable. In ancient Israel, they built these limestone houses, often with flat roofs, and they always leaked. So residents immediately grasped the cumulative annoyance and distress of that constant dripping.
It's not a flood, it's the little things.
Exactly. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens ceaselessly, day after day, wearing you down, just like a perpetually quarrelsome spouse wears down the stability of a home.
The proverb then highlights where true domestic blessings come from in verse 14. It draws this contrast between physical inheritance houses and wealth, which can be passed down from fathers, and something much rarer. A prudent wife is from the Lord.
This is contrasting the earthly and the tangible with the spiritual and the gifted. Anyone can inherit money, that's just happenstance. But wisdom in a spouse, the ability to maintain peace and prudence, that's presented as a truly divine blessing.
Which leads us directly to the next generation because the text strongly addresses the role of discipline.
Give a crucial command in verse 18. Discipline your son, for in that there is hope. Do not be party to his death.
That word discipline, Musar, is key here. It's far more holistic than just punishment. It encompasses correction, guidance, and continuous instruction.
So the goal isn't just control or retribution, it's restoration and future well-being. It's guaranteeing hope.
Precisely. It's about diligently teaching and instructing, aligning with those core family duties laid out in Deuteronomy. The focus on hope is a critical correction, now saves a deeper, life-altering tragedy later.
And this applies to more than just parenting, right?
Oh yes, it applies to self-restraint, which is crucial for domestic peace. Look at verse 11. A man's insight gives him patience, and his virtue is to overlook an offense. So wisdom gives you patience.
Right. If you possess wisdom, you gain insight, which gives you patience. You don't just react instantly and multiply the damage. That ability to overlook a minor offense leads to quick reconciliation and prevents an uncontrolled temper from fracturing trust, which the text warns about over and over again.
Now for our final section, we're shifting to the cost of inaction and the lifelong pursuit of wisdom. And let's start with a bit of levity, with one of the most famous caricatures of all time, the slacker.
Yes, verse 24 gives us this ultimate, almost absurd picture of self-destructive laziness. The slacker buries his hand in the dish. He will not even bring it back to his mouth.
That's beyond lazy. That's a profound commitment to doing nothing. You practically have to lift the fork for them.
It illustrates the absurdity and the self-inflicted suffering of idleness. Laziness brings deep sleep and inevitable hunger, as verse 15 warns. This text condemns that kind of self-inflicted suffering, and it applies equally to modern spiritual or professional or educational laziness, the refusal to move the hand, even to feed yourself.
And we have to loop back to the cost of dishonesty in the civic sphere. The proverb does not soften the severity of lying.
Not at all. Verses 5 and 9 reiterate that a false witness, an edge shicker, will not go unpunished and will perish. This reflects the severity of perjury in ancient courts, which operated at the city gates. The legal penalty for a false witness was often the exact penalty they sought for the person they falsely accused.
So the message is clear.
Truth is non-negotiable, because deceit just unravels the social order.
So, if folly is the root of all this ruin, what is the lifelong prescription for avoiding it?
Continuous instruction. Verse 20 urges, listen to counsel and accept discipline, that you may be wise the rest of your days. If you cease to hear instruction, verse 27 warns you stray from knowledge itself. Wisdom isn't a destination, it's a marathon of learning.
And this lifelong pursuit, it's anchored to a much larger context, preventing us from believing our own plans are the ultimate reality.
Absolutely. That's the lens of sovereignty in verse 21. Many plans are in a man's heart, but the purpose of the Lord will prevail. This is a real philosophical challenge. You plan, you schedule, you strive, but the text places all human intentions, all our careful strategizing, within the context of a larger ultimate purpose that we do not control.
It's a call to humility.
It is a call to humility in the face of our ambition.
And finally, the ultimate anchor that provides stability in that unpredictable world, the fear of the Lord.
The fear of the Lord, or that YHWH in verse 23, is so often misunderstood. It is not terror or cowering. It's reverent awe, a deep respect for ultimate authority that fundamentally shapes your daily choices and priorities.
And the text guarantees a benefit to that.
A tremendous benefit. It leads to life that one may rest content without visitation from harm.
That's the payoff. Reverence secures a contentment unmarred by calamity.
It is the ultimate guarantee of peace. It says that by prioritizing this deep awe, you gain a sense of security and rest that those pursuing mere wealth or status simply can't achieve.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into Proverbs 19. Let's quickly summarize the 4 robust pillars of wisdom we extracted. First, integrity is better than success. Your moral capital outweighs your material wealth. Second, friendships should be evaluated on loyalty, not resources, which encourages us to be the giver who invests in that eternal repayment. Third, discipline, so correction paired with hope, is essential for domestic well-being. And fourth, reverence for knowledge and ultimate purpose secures lifelong contentment.
And these ancient principles resonate because they cut right to the heart of what it means to live well. What's fascinating, and something the commentary often explores, is that the text seems to demand a figure who embodies all these virtues perfectly.
The ideal person.
The faithful witness, the ultimate friend, and the generous king. That figure is one who, as the sources suggest, lent himself to the poor in spirit and paid the debt in full, guaranteeing divine repayment, echoing that idea in verse 17.
So we found the user manual for contentment. But here's the question for you to ponder as you apply this guide. The text promises, with striking clarity, that this path of reverence and wisdom leads to life and guaranteed contentment in verse 23. Yet we live in a world where tragedy and hardship affect even the wisest and most righteous people. How should you reconcile the deep, ancient promise of spiritual contentment and protection with the reality of suffering and modern complexity? That tension between the promise of peace and the reality of life, that is the provocative thought that should guide your next steps.